Hi everyone! In this lesson we'll be learning about simple interest. So the goal is to identify and solve simple interest problems. So let's define what interest is. So interest is the cost of using money. Now, if money is borrowed, interest is paid. And if money is invested, interest is earned. And so we have two types of interest: simple interest and compound interest, but for this lesson, our focus will be on simple interest. So simple interest is interest earned or paid on the principal amount. So let's explore an example. Sonia invests $1,000 in a 4-year GIC certificate that earns 5% interest annually. How much interest did she earn? And B, how much will the investment be worth at the end of the term? So with simple interest, how it's calculated is we start with our principal amount, which we know is $10,000. So in year one, we start the year with $10,000. Our interest earned, we know, is 5%. Okay, one thing to note is that we never calculate in a percent. It has to always be changed into a decimal. So we can do 5% divided by 100 equals 0.05. So if we were to calculate at the end of 1 year 5% interest, we take our $1,000 times it by 0.05, which is $5. Oh, sorry, that was a miscalculation. It's 10,000 times 0.05 is $50. So interest earned in year one is $50. So our accumulated interest in the 1 year is 50. The amount at the end of the year is 1,000 plus $50 of interest equals $1,050. With simple interest, our principal for the next year is again $1,000. We recalculate our interest earned at 5%, which again is just $50. Therefore, how much interest now do we have after 2 years? Would be 50 plus 50, $100. So the amount at the end of 2 years would be $1,000 plus 100 for a total of $1,100. In year 3, we begin the year with $1,000. Our interest earned on 1,000 is $50. Our accumulated interest in year 3 was 100 plus 50, which is now $150 total. And therefore, at the end of 3 years, we have 1,000 plus $150 of interest, which is $1,150. Year 4, we begin with $1,000, 50% interest. We had 150 plus an additional $50 of interest, which is now $200. And at the end of year 4, we will have saved 1,000 plus $200 for a total earnings of $1,200. So let's answer our question. So how much interest did she earn? So our total interest earned over 4 years is $200. And B, how much will the investment be worth at the end of the term? So the amount at the end of the year, $1,200. Fortunately, we have formulas, so we do not have to always manually calculate. So to calculate our simple interest, I equals P times R times T, where I is our interest, P is the principal amount, R is our rate. So the interest rate per year remember, it's given to us in a percentage. We want a decimal. So we just divide by 100. And T is time. Time in years that money earns interest. We also have a second formula, which is our amount. Okay, we have three formulas. So amount is equal to principal times, not times, plus interest. Okay, we know that interest equals P times R times T. So I just replaced I for those variables. Or to simplify, A equals P times 1 plus RT, close bracket. So I will be using more this formula in calculation, but this is understanding what we are adding. So our principal plus our total interest will get us our final amount. So A is our final amount. P is our principal. And I is our total interest. Let's look at a few examples. So example 1, Carter deposits $200 in an account at his bank. The interest is 6%. How much interest will he earn in 3 years? And part B, how much will be in his bank account? So let's look at A. So what are we being asked? We're being asked to solve for interest. So how much interest? So I is in question. If we wrote our interest formula, I equals P times R times T. So therefore we need to know the values to these variables. And our question will give us that information. So our principal amount, we're starting off with $200. Our rate, so our interest rate is 6%. Remember, it's in terms of a decimal we need it in. So 6 divided by 100 equals 0.06. And our time is in 3 years. So we can substitute our values into our formula. 200 times 0.06 times 3. We can multiply all that on our calculator. Times 0.06 times 3 equals $36. So this is the amount of interest earned in 3 years. So therefore, let's answer B. How much will be in his bank account? So this is asking for the final amount, which is our A. So we consider P plus I, since we've calculated our interest already. So we need to know A's in question. Our principal amount is $200. Our interest we calculate is 36. So A equals 200 plus 36 for a total of $236. So therefore, Carter will have $236.